What's up, everybody? Let's begin.
Lose! I don't lose! I win! I win! That's my job! That's what I do! There is no tomorrow!
Focus on what you're doing. Get better at what you're doing. Everything else is a complete waste of time.
It's not over until I win!
All right, Bitcoin on the daily. It's had its breakout. Always good to see your thesis, your plan playing out as you laid it out. So it's broken the downward trend line, had its retest, bought back up quickly, and the time that I'm recording this video, the price is hovering well above this resistance block on the daily. So this is a confirmed breakout of this downward trend line. Step number one, in terms of its strength and its aim and objective, to move to the upper end of a rally towards the 50 SMA, primarily making thesis to have a new all-time high for Bitcoin come to fruition. The step towards that, in terms of early signs, it's coming to life, right? So we'll go slow, step by step. Step one is kind of positive signs and it's coming to fruition. What do we think is likely going to happen next? So the weekly is going to get closed later today. I'm recording this midnight, so it already is a Sunday here. On the 4-hour, I think the price is now approaching RSI 70. I think as we head into the weekly open later today, price would likely see a move towards the upside, and at that point I believe we will lose some momentum on the RSI, so that should bring back the price into this resistance block. So effectively price should do something like this. So, you know, make that first attempt and see where we go from there. So effectively it should go do like that, and while it does that, the RSI should find a drop in momentum. I'm not expecting the price to cut through this resistance of the weekly pivot in its first attempt. I don't think that's likely to happen. So yeah, at the first attempt of this resistance block, a rejection is what I'm expecting. A drop in the 4-hour RSI is what would lead to that drop. That's my thesis as of now. As long as this price pivot or this block of prior resistance stays and price is able to convert this into a support, the thesis would be that the almost, let's see how many days of this particular consolidation has been. So from this point onwards, so about 18 days. So this price move that you are seeing right now has a consolidation of about 18 days on the back of it. So to this resistance block, attempt number 1, 2, 3, 4, say about 4 attempts towards this resistance block and a rejection from those levels, held underside of this rejection, and then a consolidation of about 18 days is what is behind this move. So I'm not expecting the price to just fade away when it makes that attempt at cutting through this resistance. I would expect this block to hold and then find a further consolidation above this to make the second, or likely is the second or the third, or somewhere around those number of attempts, and then cut through this resistance. That's the immediate kind of thesis and the price action which I believe is likely to unfold in the week ahead. To bring up some confluence on the momentum side of things, so we currently are trading right at the top end of the 50 SMA on the daily. This resistance block again is in confluence to this super trend price, which is about 95. So there's your added confluence to the resistance block and the super trend, and the price has to get above it and flip both into support to see any kind of continuation of its momentum on the upside effectively. But it's got its sign of strength, to say the least. On the weekly, it's a very healthy, it's a very bullish candle the way it's shaping up currently, and I don't see any reasons why going into the weekly open it would fade away. So the probability of this strength sustaining itself and not fading away going into the weekly open is very high in my books at present. It absolutely has to do its bit. Like I said, that 93-95k resistance block on the daily, and has to kind of flip into support. So it's this resistance block that I'm stating. This is coming from the weekly pivot. The weekly levels are kind of respected well by Bitcoin primarily, and I'm following the weekly as the primary price pivot points, and then seeing what that transpires into the weekly and the 4-hour, right? As I said in my prior videos, from a market structure standpoint, this low is yet to be broken. So this consolidation for the moment is nothing but a higher low. Okay, so the market structure on the weekly has not yet broken. You get that? The weekly structure on here for Bitcoin is still bullish. We are yet to break the market structure. So this consolidation is still a higher low, which would mean logically we make an attempt to make a new all-time high above these levels. So yeah, I do understand, and it's of relevance, which is this 50 SMA. You can see every time the price has went underneath it, retested it, if it's got rejected, it's led to further continuation of the downtrend, leading to an eventual capitulation. Happened back in 2018. This here 2019 drop, price held up, there was a price move up, COVID happened, and then the liquidation in the market led to that drop and equally led to a faster recovery. So price was able to get itself above the 50 SMA back in 2020, and then that led to a further all-time highs on Bitcoin. Breakthrough, another attempt, gets rejected, downward continuation, eventual capitulation. So you cannot deny that the 50 SMA is of absolute relevance. The point I'm just stating in terms of simplicity is the price is yet to break market structure. So yes, we have to manage the risk, which is where the confluence of the 50 SMA is also with the October 10th low. And then I believe from a fib standpoint, the 0.618 level is also hovering around the same price pivot. So yeah, the October 10th low is in confluence with the 0.618. So your worst case scenario would be if you were to follow the 50 SMA on the weekly as your kind of primary thesis, or whether we are in a bull market or whether we are in a bear market, yes, then this rally here should be treated as a relief rally and for folks to exit their positions. It's just the bits that I'm seeing on the ETH BTC chart and the strength and the market structure of some of those alts and the BTC dominance. I can cover that in a separate video, but there's a lot of confluence of the other bits that's happening in the crypto space and in the wider S&P and the metals stuff, which is kind of giving me more confidence and confidence that maybe this time something different might be on the cards. Technically, yes, the 50 SMA is a key kind of SMA to make note of, and everyone is going to manage their risk when the price approaches the 50 SMA. The sentiment, what I see, is too bearish. So yeah, I don't know why. The gut tells me this something is about to happen, and the majority might not be prepared for it, and have been of the opinion that even if the 2017 style alt season may not happen in the near short term, alts which have the strength against Bitcoin and ETH itself is really primed from its structure standpoint. The ETH BTC chart, I can quickly bring that up as I'm talking about it. There you go. That's the monthly, is it? What's the monthly? Right, so this is your 3-month resistance block, and just look at how the price has been. Like, this is not a bearish outlook of how the price and BTC ETH chart is shaping up, right? Even if I momentarily bring up the 50 SMA, yeah, the 50, this is weekly, the price is well above the 50 SMA on ETH BTC. Okay, ETH USDT, you know, I can't just ignore the fact that this is a smiling market. You know, it's had its drop, an inverse head and shoulders on the RSI and the price. Yeah, the ETH BTC USD is primed, ETH BTC is primed, and if we were to be in a bear market, yes, ETH is the leader, but both the charts are not speaking to one another. Gold, I believe, have topped. I can quickly bring up gold here. This is the weekly. That's the I've talked about gold BTC in a separate last video, but it was just the confidence point that I wanted to talk about, and hence brought up the charts. So look, it's very healthy, this weekly candle. I don't think the strength is going to go away as we approach into the weekly open later. And yeah, momentarily there could be a loss in momentum on the 4-hour, which may just not allow the price to butter through this resistance in its first attempt. But there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now 7. So there's about 7 weeks of consolidation of the price backing this move that's incoming. So while the price may not just breach this resistance in its first attempt, but I think eventually Bitcoin is going to breach 93, 95K. And from that point, October 10th low in confluence to the 50 SMA, in confluence to the 0.618 fib, is going to be a major resistance block. And we already have marked out these supply zones, which is in line to those levels around 0.786 of the Fibonacci retracements as well. So yeah, absolutely will expect a major supply and a major sell-off at that level, and that's the point where the price will have to demonstrate if it's able to continue the momentum on the upside by flipping that and those levels into support, and then that eventually gives more confidence that the new all-time highs are coming. And if there's a very clear rejection, the price will tell us, and at that point the bias would be towards that it's a bear market, you know, but the price has to tell that. On the weekly, yeah, the Bollinger Band middle base is about 103. What is the Ichimoku standard at Ichimoku telling us? Inside the cloud. Brilliant. So look, Bitcoin has followed the thesis or the bias thus far. We call the move that the BTC price is currently having. I've shared my thoughts in terms of how I think the upcoming weekly open, and then you would have already kind of heard the news around Venezuela. So I don't know what narrative or what the news is going to be that pushes the price of Bitcoin, but I've talked about this in my prior videos that since the time I've started putting these more frequently the last couple of weeks, that the metals market have topped, and it's only a matter of time that the strength of the metals, where the money has been consistently flows back to crypto. And I think it's coming. It's only a matter of time with regards to the shape and the charts that I can see on alts. It might not be all the alts going all at once, but the ones which are having their strength against Bitcoin and alts having strength against ETH, those are the ones which will likely make an attempt to their prior all-time highs. So the next video that I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about primarily around XRP and CRV. I think those two are the ones that I'm following currently, and those are the ones who have strength against Bitcoin and ETH as well, right? Slight sign of worry that I can see, which can perhaps momentarily halt Bitcoin's upward movement, is the divergence that is now forming on the SPX. So you can see a higher high, another higher high, and then this is curving. This is the same pattern which led the current drop of Bitcoin from 125k to 74k. Lower highs on the RSI, and this is a weekly time frame, so the significance is even more greater. That's the only kind of confluence I can find which might affect Bitcoin, but you never know. If similar to how these past couple of months the stock market as well as the metals market were finding traction, were finding momentum, and were they were having strength on their own, and Bitcoin going down had no effects on it. And then it could be the case where Bitcoin now gets the strength, and these other markets are not related, or they somehow don't affect Bitcoin. It could happen. That's a probability, but just in terms of managing risk and the scenario where Bitcoin might get some kind of rejection or loss of momentum could be via the SPX. But I think there's a bigger move brewing in the crypto space led by Bitcoin, and whether or not the SPX divergence comes to fruition and it affects Bitcoin's price is to be seen. Doesn't really matter. Crypto and Bitcoin, I think, is going high in the first quarter, and I've had my bias around the all-time highs on Bitcoin on the market structure, right? Yet to break the market structure. The consolidation is a higher low consolidation. So we'll see how all of this eventually plays out. Until we speak next, cheers, have a good one.